So about a week ago, I told you guys that if Apple could stay above support at 224, then look for a continuation run to 233. And if the stock could get above 233, then look for a run to 239. Take a listen. Now to the upside, if Apple can stay above current support at 224, then look for a 1% continuation to 233. And if the stock can get above 233, then look for a run to 239. And from current price, we're looking at a return of over 4%. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Oracle, ticker symbol ORCL. So in my most recent analysis, I said if the stock could get above $300 per share, then look for a run back to 319. Take a listen. Now, to the upside, if the stock can get back above $300 per share, then I want you guys to look for a run to 319. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the Nasdaq QQQs and the S&P 500. So a couple weeks ago, I told you guys that if the Nasdaq was to break this high right here, then you guys should look for a run to 588 and then a run to 599. And for the S&P 500, I said if this high was broken, then you guys should look for a run to 653 and then a run to 665. So now that the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq QQQs is at my expected move, I want to urge you guys to be cautious. Sure, we can go a little bit higher, but the risk to the downside is far greater. With that said, for the Nasdaq QQQs, I'm looking for a 17% pullback to 495 and then a 24% pullback to 450. And once again, the higher up we go, the greater the risk to the downside. Now for the S&P 500, from current price, I'm looking for a 13% pullback to 594. And then I'll be looking for a 19% pullback to 532. And with that said, guys, if you'd like to know where the markets and your favorite stocks are headed next, then consider subscribing to the channel. My analysis is absolutely for free. Now, seemingly, Apple's App Store is facing major pressure from other tech giants. Take a listen.
Digital moneymaker, the App Store has been in the spotlight and facing legal and regulatory challenges from its competitors. Our next guest has a new book out today. It's called I War, Fortnite, Elon Musk, Spotify, WeChat, and Laying Siege to Apple's Empire. And it warns that these court fights are a big distraction and that the tech giant could lose its edge in the AI era. Joining us right now is the author, Tim Higgins. He's the Wall Street Journal business columnist, also a CNBC contributor. And Tim, first of all, congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
We've been following from a distance all of these battles as they played out over the years, but you got up close and personal with all of this. How would you describe what's happening?
A great corporate drama, great global drama. It's an American story, right? Apple creates this incredibly successful world, a new world, the app economy, where $1 trillion a year is going through. New kingdoms are created within it, whether it's Spotify, Facebook, Epic Games, and then those new lords kind of rebel. They have a Boston Tea Party. They think Apple has too much power, takes too big of a tax, and they have the courage to kind of attack and go after Apple to try to bring down Apple's role as the gateway to the digital world.
It reminds me of so many things, but first of all, we should point out these aren't like a ragtag bunch of, young rebel fighters. They're all billionaires in their own right.
Absolutely.
And they were made billionaires because of what they were able to do on the App Store.
And that's what Apple would point out, that these people have been successful and they don't want to pay their fair share. These other companies would counter, Apple's taking too much. They don't get the right to have their hand in their pocket forever.
We had John Malone on the show about a week and a half ago, and he brought up this really interesting point, just back to net neutrality and what happened over the net neutrality laws, which basically said that all the upstarts got to use the cable companies and any of the networks that had been built for single freight, basically. You didn't have to pay extra for the amount of the network that you were using. And that was seen as the democratization of allowing these tiny companies to build up. Well, as a result, we got companies like Netflix that are then dominating the cable companies that provided the networks for them to go across through all that time. It feels like we're just always creating new big tech titans on the backs of the olds.
Absolutely. That's kind of the history of tech, right? And the situation that Apple finds itself in is probably similar to what Microsoft did a generation ago. And Bill Gates and others at Microsoft would say that they lost focus in those antitrust fights. They missed the mobile computing era. They were behind elsewhere. And it took them years and years to catch up, right? Now, clearly they did. But in the meantime, it was very painful, right? And that's the threat to Apple here.
Now, going into the rest of the video, here's some important levels to watch on ticker symbol SOFI, SOFI Technologies, Nvidia, ticker symbol NVDA, and PALANTIR, ticker symbol PLTR. Let's go ahead and begin with Nvidia, ticker symbol NVDA. So current support for Nvidia is going to be at 175. If the stock can stay above this level and break above this trend line, then look for a 1% run to 180. And if buyers can push the stock above 180, then look for a further run to 183. Above 183, the bull's next target is going to be at 186. And from current price, we're looking at a return of over 5%. Overall, to the upside, if Nvidia stock can remain bullish, then there's a possibility for the stock to get to 195 and then to 203. Now, let's take a look at the downside. So if Nvidia stock falls below 175, then I want you guys to look for a 2% pullback to 172. And if 172 failed to hold as support, then look for a pullback down to 168. Now, below 168, the bear's next target is going to be at 165. And from current price, we're looking at a decline of 6%. Next, we have SOFI Technologies, ticker symbol SOFI. So during the market's last trading session, SOFI stock was up over 4%, breaking above resistance at 28.82. With that said, if SOFI cannot stay above this level, then I want you guys to look for a 6% pullback to 27.70. And if 27.70 failed to hold as support, then look for a pullback to 26.50. And if 26.50 also failed to hold as support, then look for a further pullback down to 24.30. And from current price, we're looking at a decline of 17%. Overall, to the downside, I'm looking for a pullback to 20.24. And from current price, we're looking at a decline of 31%. Now to the upside, if SOFI can stay above 28.82, then I want you guys to look for a 7% run to $31. Let's now go ahead and take a look at PALANTIR, ticker symbol PLTR. So currently PALANTIR is running into resistance at 183. If the stock cannot get above this level, then I want you guys to look for a pullback down to 176. And if 176 failed to hold as support, then look for a pullback to 169. Should 169 fail to hold as support, then look for a further pullback down to 161. And from current price, we're looking at a decline of 11%. Overall, to the downside, I'm looking for a pullback to 131. And from current price, we're looking at a decline of 28%. Now, to the upside, if PALANTIR stock can get above 183, then I want you guys to look for a 2% run to 187. And if buyers can push the stock above 187, then look for a run to 197. And from current price, we're looking at a return of over 7%. All right, guys, if you find this video helpful, go ahead and leave a like, leave a comment, and let's get this video out to more viewers. Also, if you're currently watching and you're not yet subscribed, do consider subscribing. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.